Yesterday we had a really exciting US Open final between Juan Martin Del Potro and Roger Federer. And Del Po pulled it out in 5 sets. This is his first major title at the young age of 20 years old. Now, I think the main reason that Del Po won this match was because he was extremely mentally tough. And you may be saying, well, Will, mentally tough. I mean, the guy didn't show up in the first set. He obviously was a little frazzled, and he didn't get it together until 5-3 in the second set when he broke Federer's serve and then obviously won that set in a tiebreaker. Well, I don't think Del Potro was so much consistent mentally over the entire match as he was resilient. Whenever Del Potro seemed to come unhinged, he got himself back together. So he was able to weather the vicissitudes of the match extremely well. He double faulted to lose a set, double faulted twice in a row, and you thought, everybody I'm sure thought to themselves at that point, well, this one's over. But it wasn't. He obviously came back, he got it together, and that kind of mental toughness I didn't think he had, especially for a 20-year-old. Most 20-year-olds don't have that kind of mental toughness, but particularly given Del Po's track record. 9 months ago, he got absolutely obliterated by Federer in the quarters of the Aussie Open. It was 3-0-0, a total beatdown. And early in that match, Federer got in his head, Del Po became unhinged, and then he just went away. More recently, in the finals of the Rogers Cup, he played Andy Murray. And the first 2 sets were real close in tiebreakers. Maybe Del Potro got tired, but in the third set it was 6-1, and that fight wasn't there. And he said after the match, I'm paraphrasing, but he said, I'm sorry that I didn't show up in the third set, that I couldn't fight in the third set. So you see that kind of thing, and then 3 weeks later you expect the guy to rise to the occasion and win the US Open. I mean, that's not very likely. So that's why I didn't think he was going to win this match. One of the main reasons was I think mentally the occasion would be too much. Obviously that wasn't the case, and I'm very impressed by his mental toughness. I mean, again, that's my opinion, the #1 reason he won that match. But it's great to see a guy turn it around so quickly, and particularly for a guy as nice as Del Potro. And as I said earlier, he is an extremely talented player, so if he is able to maintain that level of mental toughness and focus, he's going to be winning a lot of matches and a lot more majors. So let's get down to brass tacks and talk about the tactics that were being used during this match. And to be honest, I thought the tactics were a little strange right out of the gate. What I was expecting was some cross-court backhand-to-backhand rallies where you had Fed throwing in the topspin and then slice backhands so you eventually could get a ball you could run around. And you certainly saw some of that. But Federer's strategy out of the gate was actually to just hit deep down the middle of the court. And essentially, he kept the ball in between these 2 hash marks. And that was an interesting strategy, and I can understand why he did it. Del Potro is 6'6", and he has long strokes. He can obviously rip the ball, but what DP did against Nadal was Nadal would try and pull him wide, and that would allow Del Potro to move out, wind up, and then just blast the ball cross court. And so what Federer did by keeping Del Potro in the middle of the court and hitting deep, well, let's say Del Potro wants to hit a forehand. And real quick, these icons again, the circle is the body and the stick is the side that the player's hitting on, so this is a forehand for a righty. So Del Potro wants to hit a forehand. Federer hits a deep ball down the middle of the court. Del Potro has to backpedal and set up, which is more difficult to do. If you're moving back, you obviously can't transfer your weight into the shot. Your balance isn't always there. So by doing that, it limited Del Potro's ability to be aggressive. Now, Federer kind of got away from this about midway through the second set, which was coincidentally when Del Potro started to play better. I don't know if those 2 things are related, but by going cross-court more, which is what Federer started to do, he allowed Del Potro to be more aggressive. We all saw those 100-mile-an-hour forehands Del Potro was hitting. And when Del Potro hits a forehand over here, he has the low part of he's going cross-court, let's say he aims here. He has the low part of the net and a lot of court to work with. So if he takes a huge cut at the ball, he can think to himself, okay, well, low net, a lot of court, chances are I'm going to make this shot. It's a higher percentage shot. But now, if Del Potro is here, and he tries that same shot. Well, the court has just shrunk much more. This distance from here to here isn't as big as from here or even further behind the baseline to over here. So when Federer was going down the middle of the court, he was limiting Del Potro's options just simply because the court geometry was different. And when Del Potro moves over here, like I said before, the court is much longer, so he can take huge cuts at the ball and still expect that ball to go in. Obviously, that applies on the backhand as well. And if Federer was hitting a slice to the backhand, then that doesn't let Del Potro hit quite as hard because he has to lift it up over the net and get it to drop down. But despite that fact, I mean, Del Potro, first of all, handled the slice real well. And second of all, as soon as Federer hit a topspin ball, Del Potro was pounding that thing. So, you know, it was a pretty impressive display. But to go back to the original point, I'm not 100% sure why Federer got away from this strategy when it was working pretty well. And obviously Del Potro didn't expect it and was making a lot of errors to start. The final thing I want to do is address Federer's first serve percentage, 50% for the match. A lot of people said, well, if Federer had served better, he would have won. Is that true? I mean, Federer certainly didn't bring his A game on the serve, but let's assume that Federer serves 65%, which I've got right there. Well, Federer hit 181 first serves, and at 65% first serve percentage, that's 118 first serves in the court. Now, you take 118 first serves and you multiply it by 71%. That was the percentage that Federer won on his first serve, the number of first serve points he won, and you end up with 84 first serve points won. Well, now let's take a brief step back, and now we have 181 serves. Remember, that's the number of first serves Federer hit. Let's subtract 118 first serves. That was the number of first serves he made, and that gives us 63, which is the number of second serves Federer would have hit with these numbers, assuming 65% in first serves in. So now he's hitting 63 second serves. Well, 63 times 56%, that's the percentage he won on his second serve, gives you 35 points. So if we take the 84 points that he won on the first serve and we add it to the 35 points he would now win on his second serve, that gives us 119 points on his service games. Now, what's this number here? The 57 is the number of points Federer won when returning serve. Add those together, you get 176 points that Federer would have won. Now, you may have noticed this stuff up here. This is the total number of points actually won in the match. 172 for Fed and 180 for Del Potro. So Federer, if he had served 15 percentage points higher, only would have won 4 more points in the match. Excuse me, whoops, messed that up. Yep, there we go. 4 more points in the match, 172 to 176. Well, that means you got to take away 4 points from Del Potro, and that gives us an even number of points won over the course of the entire match. So what does this all mean? Does this 8-point swing plus 4 for Federer minus 4 for Del Potro, so now we have the same number of points for both players, does that mean the match would have been much closer? My gut tells me I don't think so. You know, we can do all this fun math, and this is kind of like throwing fuel on the fire, gets a lot of discussion going, but you know, a lot of tennis, and particularly in this match, is just who wins those big points. And Del Potro won so many big points. First of all, Federer was 5 for 22 on break chances. So Del Potro really did a good job of stepping his game up when he was under a lot of pressure, and Del Potro converted a lot better on those break points. And of course, Del Potro came up big when Federer was serving for the second set, came up big in the second set breaker, came up big in the fourth set when Federer was serving for the match, and he came up big in the fourth set breaker. And those kind of situations are hard to measure on the stat sheet, but in my view, given situations like that, I just think Del Potro had this match once he got himself together. Again, very impressive display by the 20-year-old, and I'm looking forward to watching him in the future.